Hello everyone, thank you for joining me. My name is Chris and I'm one of the content and training specialists here. So this morning we are going to be going through all things point of sale. So most of you will use this probably every day, obviously when you're checking your clients out, settling a bill or selling a product or adding another service on. But it's one of those things we often take for granted with regards to the actual setup. So for this morning, we're going to be looking at how we can configure our point of sale and utilize other things such as refunds, reports, payment types, really just to ensure everything is set up as best as it can be. Now, we do have quite a lot to get through, but please do not worry. As always, all of my classes will always be recorded and uploaded to YouTube. You can find us on YouTube at Shortcuts UK. So all of our classes will always be there. Now, before we get started for this morning, if this is your first time joining me, a very good morning and thank you ever so much for joining me. But if this is your first time joining me, there is always a little bit of housekeeping. We're just going to run through really quickly together before we get into the fun stuff. So the duration of this class, it's going to be approximately 60 minutes, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more, but I appreciate you may be joining me before clients, in between clients, or of course, this may be your day off. My microphone is switched on, whereas everyone else has automatically been muted. But I do say, unmute yourself, have a chat with me if you want to, ask me some questions. I'm hopeful I'm going to be able to answer all of your questions throughout. If not, just sit back, enjoy, watch the video later on if you want to as well. And as always, your speakers must be turned on to hear this webinar. So hopefully you can all hear me nice and clearly. If you just want to take a sec there, just to pop your headset in if you want to, just take a few seconds just to do that now. And as always, questions will be taken throughout or at the end. Like I said, if you want to unmute yourself, if you want to have a chat with me, please feel free to. That is perfectly fine to do so. Now, as always, we usually have a very brief PowerPoint presentation, but for the foreseeable, I'm just going to get into the fun stuff. I'm going to do live demonstrations. We don't want to be sat here just flicking through slide after slide with me. So we're going to jump right into our live demonstration. And if you want to do this alongside me, you can do, or if you want to watch it back later on, that's perfectly fine. But just before we do that, if you do want to drop me an email, please feel free to do so. At education@shortcuts.co.uk. That's education@shortcuts.co.uk. Or you can give me a call on 0161 972 4900, option 1 and then option 4. And then as always, please do stay tuned on our social pages, our Instagram and our Facebook, Shortcuts UK, as well as our YouTube channel as well, Shortcuts UK. Now, some of you may be sent from our marketing team the classes coming up, or you can also do so on our website, shortcuts.co.uk/online-classes, and always stay tuned for the most up-to-date classes coming your way. We've got them sort of registered now to pretty much April. Okay, so that is it for the brief introduction. If you are just still joining us, we're literally just going through the introductions now, and in just a couple of seconds, we're going to jump straight into the fun stuff, our live demonstration. So what I'm going to do is open up my Shortcuts Fusion system. Perfect. So I've got my Shortcuts Fusion system. So this morning's class is all things point of sale, okay? The back end side of it, everything. So the first thing we're going to take a look at for this morning is actually configuring our point of sale, because most of us will know when we check a client out, it kind of almost appears automatically. But there are, of course, some things we can do back end to ensure it is configured absolutely the way we want it, and some handy tips as well to help boost revenue, such as increasing those rebookings and upselling as well. So to get the ball rolling then this morning, on the right-hand side of our navigation bar, we're going to click onto the setup icon just here. Once we've clicked onto setup, we are going to click onto configuration. Then, of course, the first thing you'll notice here is our point of sale in the top left-hand corner. Now, this is essentially where we configure our point of sale. Now, there are quite a few ticks in the boxes here, and there's quite a few options as well. Now, we don't necessarily have to go through all of them, but there's a few we're just going to take a very quick look at. So first and foremost, all of the tick boxes just down here on the left hand side. One of the first things I would probably be looking at is ask to rebook. Okay, now we all know what it's like. We love knowing we've got those rebookings in. There is never a better time than when we've got that client than to ask to rebook at the point of sale screen. It will pop up, it will say ask to rebook. If they don't want to rebook, that's perfectly fine. But one of the very first things, and it's something so simple we can all be doing, is getting that prompt to ask us to rebook. Now, I know sometimes we can often find it a little bit daunting, can't we, when we need to ask that client to rebook. But if we've got that prompt, it kind of helps us. It prompts us to say, yes, should we get you rebooked back in for 4 weeks? Should we get you rebooked back in for 6 weeks? So something just very simple to do is to get that rebook just there. Now, underneath, I would also have the box ticked where it says require discount reason. Now, why do we do this? So if we're ever going to choose the discount option or the discount button, we should really be choosing a discount reason. So why would we do that? Well, it really just gives us a paper trail as to why we are actually giving a discount, so we can backtrack later on. So of course, why do we need to do that? Well, if we're going to do a Mother's Day discount or a Father's Day discount or whatever it may be, we need to see whether it's worth our while doing that maybe next year or some point further down the line. So as long as we've used that discount reason, we can use our reports to track how well that worked for us. And if you've ever done Marketing Plus or cloud-based marketing, you will always know there is a return on investment report there as well. So those two tick boxes, just nice and easy, I would be having on there as well. Require refund reason, exactly the same. When we are given refunds, which you will see later on, how to give a refund, we should be choosing a reason why. We shouldn't just be giving a refund, we should be choosing a reason why. And again, this is all very poignant for our reporting. Okay, and also one of the main reasons we do actually give a refund through our shortcut system is to help it balance out. And then last but not least is this option just here, low stock warning. So what does low stock warning essentially mean? Well, in your stock setup, which I will show you in just a sec how to do, in your stock setup, you can put a stock warning. That stock warning will flag up whenever you sell a product, and it will bring that warning to the point of sale screen. Now, again, why do we want this pop-up appearing? Well, it's a very good way to help us budget and forecast our stock. There is nothing worse than when a client wishes to purchase that shampoo or that conditioner or that cleanser or that toner, whatever it may be. When they want to purchase that product and we realize we haven't got the stock in. Now, we know in a very e-commerce driven environment and world that we live in, retail in our salons, in our businesses, can be often difficult because they just want to go home and buy it online. So there's nothing worse than when we got that sale at the point of sale screen than realizing we didn't have the stock. So that low stock warning will flag up and not only show us how many we've got in stock, but what the warning is, letting us know we're getting dangerously close to selling out. Then, of course, we can get onto our suppliers, get to our reps, and get those products purchased. We're never going to miss that sale again. So those four are nice and easy. Low stock warning, ask to rebook, require discount reason, and require refund reason. Now to the bottom right, we also have these options here for allow tips. This is if you would like to allow tips on things like a card machine. So we can see we've got this option here for give tips directly from the register. That essentially means whatever the tip may be, however the tip was given to you, you're going to take that tip out as cash. So when you do your cashing up at the end of the day, it will sort of notice that that cash has been taken. So if I was to receive a £20 tip, it's basically going to say that tip's going to be taken straight out of the till. When we do our end session, when we do our end of day cashing up, that £20 tip will no longer be there. It will have been taken out directly from the register. Allow tips to business. So rather than tipping an employee per se, we will tip the business, which I think is quite nice if you want to tip the business as an overall, rather than an individual stylist, therapist, or barber. Now, if you are using the clock on, clock off feature, we're not seeing a great deal of it used recently, but if you are using the clock on, clock off feature, it will simply ask you to enter your specific tips when you clock off. Prompt for tip on card payment. If you are using integrated card machines, it will prompt like the gratuity when we are at a restaurant or anything like that. Now, warn when tip exceeds the fixed amount. So let's just say if a tip was to be £20, it will warn when it exceeds that £20 if you were to put that in there. And warn when tip exceeds percentage of the sale. So you might be thinking, okay, well, the bill is £50 and they want to leave a £25 tip, which is 50%. You might think, oh, I want to be warned every time that's going to happen. But I tend to say, do you know what? If that client wishes to give us a massive tip, go for it. That's perfectly fine. Now, also as well here, I would also have the tick box just to the left-hand side that says enable quotes, okay? Now, we know what it's like. We get that client in for that consultation, and then they say, oh, can you just write the price down for us? And we're scrambling around trying to find like a card, or we use the receipt paper or anything like that. Enable quotes basically enables us to go into our point of sale screen, create the service. You can bring the client to the point of sale screen, bring the service or the product, whatever it may be. And then in the bottom right hand corner, you can see here, we got the option that says quote. You can print out that quote and give it to them. And I just think it just looks that little bit more professional. It's just a nice way to just help build the quote for the client. So let's just go back to where we were. So some very simple things that I would be doing just moving forward to help make sure your point of sale is sort of as perfect and as spot on as humanly possible. To the left-hand side, what we're going to do is we're going to click on to payment types. Okay. Now, payment types are all of the types of payments that we take in the salon. And a lot of these will already be set up for you, such as cash, such as card, whatever it may be. But you may have a self-employed stylist that has their own card machine, or maybe you want to introduce something such as a bank transfer. The client's card declines and they don't have any cash, and they say to you, look, I'm just going to do you a very quick bank transfer. Now, technically, that is a credit or debit card payment, of course, but we want to be nice and specific. So maybe you're thinking, you know what, I'm going to create my own payment type. So nice and simple. All I'm going to do is just click new just down the bottom here. And then we can type that payment type in. So I'm just going to say Chris's card machine. I'm going to say, Chris has his own card machine in the salon just here. So I've typed that name in there. And then we get some options to the right-hand side. Well, we've got an option that says banking. So what does that mean? Well, if we were to tick this banking box, that will mean when we do our end of day wizard, when we're filling out the columns and we've got card, cash, online payment, banking will quite simply mean when we get to that stage, it will ask us to include all of the takings for this particular payment type. So for an example, we can see here, I've created a very similar payment type and I called it Nicole card machine, and we can see this just here. Now, I ticked the banking box, and that quite simply means when I get to my end of day wizard, it will ask me to input the takings for that there, as long as I have ticked the banking box. Now, if you untick the banking box, the money doesn't disappear. It's not hidden. It's not anything like that whatsoever. It just quite simply means when we get to the end of day cashing up, it will not ask us to input the findings there. Now, it may be your self-employed stylist, they work longer hours or they work shorter hours. And of course, when it gets to the end of day, we're not going to be able to speak to them. They've already gone home. Treat changes tip. I probably wouldn't use this for something like that. That's more if you're doing like cashback or something like that. You can also tick this box and it will pop the card machine, not the card machine. It will pop the cash machine it will pop, sorry, ladies and gents, it will pop the cash drawer. So if you wish this payment type to open your cash drawer, which is typically like cash payments, we need the cash drawer to open, or maybe you want to pop a PDQ machine in there as well. If you tick this box, it will open the cash drawer. Now you've also got this option here where it says credit an EFT card. So if we were to tick this box, when we click the standard card button just here, and our point of sale screen, when we click onto the card, it will pop up there as well. It will have credit and debit card as well as Chris's card machine or Nicole's card machine. That's where it will pop up just there. Now, if you are creating it as a credit and EFT card, just make sure you pop a card identification logo in there or number or something like that. I would just do something like CCM for Chris's card machine, and then just always pop just a tiny description in there. You can also say whether this is going to be a gift card or a loyalty card or a cancellation charge. So all we're going to do is just click save just on there. Quick restart to the shortcut system to make sure everything brings back into play. So something very nice and simple there, just creating a brand new payment type, just to make sure when you get to your point of sale, everything is absolutely spot on, especially if we do have a client or an employee, that rents a chair, or a stylist that rents a chair, or anything like that there. We should definitely be having those sort of custom payment types as well. And that was just under setup, configuration, and then payment types. And I just created that one there. Now, discounts. We don't often do a lot of discounts, but you might be thinking to entice those new clients or returning clients, or maybe you want to do a Mother's Day discount. It's just around the corner, or a Father's Day discount as well. Now, as we said earlier at the beginning of the class, we should always be using a discount reason. Now, it's perfectly fine to just, deduct the payment at the point of sale screen, but we want that paper trail. We want a reason as to why we're giving a discount. And not only is it great for our accountants and our reporting and everything like that, but it's also a great way to see the monetary value associated with that literal discount. So if I was just to take £15 off at the point of sale screen, I've got no reason why. But if I'm using one of my discount reasons, I can then backtrack and see whether it's worth doing again. So again, I'm just going to click the new icon. And I'm just going to type in now, I'm going to call it Mother's Day. It's just around the corner, isn't it? I'm going to pop that Mother's Day in like that. It is always good practice to get into, if you wish to actually type in the amount just to the right-hand side of it. So I'm just going to put in there £5 for my Mother's Day discount. And then we just click done. Now to the top just here, we have our default amount. So how much discount are we going to give? So I'm going to hit the drop down arrow. And you can see here we've got our fixed amount. Now a fixed amount is our monetary value. In this case, it'll be £5. But we do also have the drop down arrow to use our percentages just here as well. Now, if you want to use a percentage that isn't listed, you will notice I've got quite a few percentages listed just there. But if you're thinking I want to do a percentage that isn't listed, to the right, you can click Add Default just here and type in the amount, such as 29%. And then just click Done. And then you'll notice underneath, if you scroll right down to the bottom, there it is just there. Now, also, just as we move down the lower half of the screen, you will notice there are 3 tick boxes. So you can see we've got discount can be applied to product, services and series, and sundry and gift certificate. So if you're wanting to sort of cement what this discount can be used off of, we can just tick or untick the boxes just here. And you can also tick this box here where it says default amount cannot be changed at point of sale. And that basically just means that this £5 discount cannot be changed. It just stops someone being a little bit sneaky and just changing it. And then all we do is we just click save just on that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to click done. And it may just ask you just to give a quick restart to your shortcuts system. And last but not least, when it comes to our setup, on the right hand side, again under setup and configuration, I'm going to choose receipt. Now you might be thinking, okay, well, why are we looking at a receipt when we're talking about point of sale? Well, of course, when we check the client out at point of sale, it will ask us to potentially print a receipt. And it's something we all kind of fall in a trap for, printing out a receipt. But let's just think moving forward how we can save money. We're not going to be buying receipt rolls or anything like that. What we're going to do, we're going to use the email receipt option. And you can see we've got this option just here that says email receipt. Why would we want to email the receipt? Well, A, it saves us paper. It also saves us having to print anything out. It also saves trees. It's much more economical. But also moving forward, it prompts us to take that client's email address, which is fantastic moving forward for things such as marketing. It's a very common ground problem. We all seem to find that we don't have enough email addresses when it comes to sending out marketing campaigns. So ensuring we've got that client's email for the email receipt just helps us get one step further. I would also, just as we move down, tick the box that says include club details. If your business, if your salon does have clubs, I would certainly have that available. And then all we're going to do is just click done and then click done again. So we've looked at our point of sale setup. We've also looked at creating those new payment types, Chris's card machine, Nicole's card machine, bank transfer, everything like that. And we've also looked at our discount reasons and setting up email receipts as well. Now, something I get asked quite a bit is how do I perform a refund? Now, I often get salons that just give the client their money back or whatever it may be, but that isn't ran through shortcuts. And when it comes to our end of day, what happens is it of course doesn't balance. So there are a couple of ways to do refunds, and it's very quick and very simple to do. And if you are offering a refund, certainly run it through your shortcuts point of sale system. Now, the very quick way to do a refund is simply through the client history. And again, this can all be done through your point of sale screen, or you can simply go to clients on the right hand side and search for the client. So if I just search for me, all we need to do is go to the client history just here. Or in the same way, through our point of sale screen, if they were maybe only in today or yesterday or whenever it may be, you can go to the point of sale, you can go to the transactions, and you can also see the clients just here as well. But very quickly, all we're going to do is just go to clients, and we're going to go to client history. And we can see here, so let's say we want to give a refund. Let's say we're going to refund this fragrance just here. You didn't mean to buy the product, whatever it may be. We can give a refund, or we can use a refund, whichever one, it doesn't matter whatsoever. But nice and simply, all we're going to do is just right click using the right hand side of our mouse. And we're just going to click refund. Now, while we are here, it is also worth mentioning you can also re-email the receipt, print the receipt, or print a gift receipt. Very handy for things like maybe Mother's Day, but of course, very popular at Christmas. But all we're going to do, just in the client's history, we are going to right click and we are going to go down to a refund. So nice and simple there, we've just clicked onto refund. Oh, let's just sort this out just very quickly. There we go. So into the client history, and we're going to right click and we're just going to go on to refund. Now, when we click onto refund, it just says, Chris has been transferred to the point of sale, ready to complete the transaction. So it's all completely automated. So all we need to do is just click done. And then, of course, all things point of sale on the right-hand side on our navigation bar, we just click onto point of sale, and there's the refund just there. We can see it's got the product, it's got the stylist or the therapist, and it's got the price. So all we're going to do is just click Finish Sale. Now, when we click onto Finish Sale, it will ask us to select a payment type to refund to. And of course, we created our refund, our payment types just there. So there's my Chris's card machine. There's one I created, or you can give it back in cash, credit and debit card, whichever it may be. So I'm going to say this client paid in cash. We click onto cash. And then, of course, we choose a reason why. So it's defective, incorrect product, or other. And then select an action for the refunded product. And then we can add to stock, return to manufacturer, or discard. If we add it to stock, it will boost your stock levels back up. If we return it to manufacturer, it will not bring your stock level back up. Exactly the same for discard. So I'm just going to do add to stock because it's not being used, and then done. And then here we go. So we can now email the receipt to this client if we wish to. We can print the receipt, email and print, or no receipt. So at this stage, we could say to the client, do you have an email address we can take to send your receipt to? So we've now got that client's email address moving forward for when it comes to, marketing and things like that. And it also means they don't need to worry about losing their receipt and having that awkward conversation. I'm just going to do no receipt just there. Excellent stuff. So that's how we can process a refund. Now, and the other way to sort of process a refund isn't really that accurate, but you can do it this way if you want to, but it's a little bit more manual to sort of do it this way. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to clients, and we're going to go into the client history. So we can see this product just here, the classic fragrance or the service, whatever it may be. Now, to do a little bit more manual, or maybe you want to do a partial refund or something like that, what we would need to do is go into the client's history, see what the service was, see what the product was, see who the stylist, barber, or therapist was. Now, we need to do that in case we pay commission throughout the shortcut system. So what we're going to do is essentially reverse build the transaction. And that's why I say it's a little bit more manual, but it's great if you want to do a partial refund. So we can see here, Amelia did a full head of highlights, or a half head of highlights even, sorry, it's a half head of highlights. So again, what we're going to do is we're going to go to our point of sale screen. We're going to choose new sale in the top left. There I am just there. And we're going to reverse build the transaction. So we now know it was Amelia. So we're going to click any one of the empty gray squares, and we're going to choose Amelia. This just ensures the commission is paid correctly. And when we go on to service, we can now choose a service. So we said it was a half head of highlights. We can look at the price here and think, okay, we're only going to give a partial refund. So this client actually paid 100, but they were only a little bit unhappy, or whatever it may be, or we spilled some color on them, or whatever it may be. We're just going to give a partial refund of £15. But of course, as we look at this, this is a normal sale. It's certainly not a refund. So what we just need to do is use our minus key to just change that to a minus. We can now see this is a cash out. And again, all we're going to do is we're going to click Finish Sale, and we're just going to choose the payment type to refund to. So maybe this time you're going to refund them £15 to their account, and just boost their account so they can use it as a credit. And again, we're just going to choose one of the reason types, and then just click Done. And we can use a receipt or email a receipt if we wish to. So we can now see, if we look at the credit, it was at, I think, about £59 before. And now my credit is at £64.90. It has boosted my credit there by £15 to be used at a later date. Now, doing it that way, I would only really recommend doing it that way if you're only going to do a partial refund. You're not able to go into the client's history and just right click on the service and then do a partial refund that way. If you do want to do a partial refund, do it the way we just did it there. Just build it reversely at the point of sale screen and use the minus there. But just always be aware, you need to be aware of who the therapist, who the stylist was, and what the actual service was to help build it. Now, something I've seen quite a lot of recently at the point of sale screen. See a lot of our staff voiding transactions. Okay. And there isn't ever really a reason to void a transaction. A lot of the times we void a transaction to stop the transaction being processed. And people typically void the transaction when they make a clerical error. Now, that could be they run it through as cash rather than card. That happens quite a lot. And then we panic and we think we're at that point of sale screen, and we then end up voiding the transaction and trying to run it through again. But I'm going to show you in about 5 minutes time, very quick way to amend a transaction as well. So rather than voiding it, we're going to amend the transaction. But if you do need to void the transaction to stop it being processed, you can do so. All you need to do is just go to point of sale. In the bottom left-hand corner, just go to your transactions, and then wherever it may be, you can find it just here. Oh, these have all been voided. Oh. There we go, there's one just there. So all we're going to do is just right-click on the transaction, and then we're just going to click void just there. You can also see the payment details as well, but a lot of the times we just void it just by right-clicking and voiding it like that. Now, one thing to bear in mind when it comes to voiding, all of the history will be deleted as well as any product counts as well. This process cannot be reversed. So all we're going to do is just proceed. Yeah, we're just going to void that there. And you must enter a reason for voiding the transaction. And then we just click done. Excellent stuff. And you can now see that just there. We've got a transaction amendment just there. Now, as I said, there's not really a great deal of reasons why we should be voiding a transaction. The most common, as we said, are those clerical errors. We accidentally run it through as cash when it should have been card. It also happens if the card declines, but we've already ran it through at point of sale. And we were not able to change it to cash or anything like that. So we end up voiding the transaction. But if it was me, I'm going to show you very quickly now how to amend those transactions for those clerical errors. And it's something we should all sort of have in our knowledge bag, should we say, that when this happens, because it does happen. I've done it. I ran it through as cash, run it through as card, and I make a bit of a clerical error there, and I need to change it. Because most importantly, it will also affect our cashing up at the end of the day as well. Because if we ran it through as cash and they paid a card, obviously that's going to be incorrect. So again, all things point of sale, we're going to click point of sale. And in the bottom left-hand corner, we're going to click onto transactions. So it may be we've got this bill just here for cash 150, or maybe this bill here for £13.56, and I actually paid in card. Now what we can do, we can select the transaction at the top here, and in the bottom left-hand corner, what we're going to do is just click onto edit payment. And we can see we've got this just here. The sale total was £13.56. What we're going to do is we're going to click onto cash just here. And we're going to change it to 0 because they didn't pay by cash. We can now see the bill is £13.56, so we don't need to remember. And we're like, yeah, of course, they didn't pay by cash. They paid by card. I made a clerical error. I'm now going to click onto card, choose my credit and debit card, and then just click done. And then click done. And then we just need to update that transaction. Now, I created one previously just called test. And then we just click done and done again. And we can see there's the amendment just there. So it's very, very quick, very, very simple to do. But if we accidentally run a transaction through incorrectly, that is one of the very quickest and simplest ways to make that change. And it will certainly help our end of day cashing up as well. Now, again, we may have, some of us work on commission, and the client came in and they bought a product, and we're like, I need to purchase that product. And I purchased it through Amy, but our receptionist, our front of house, they accidentally run it through as Chris. So Amy isn't going to get her commission. So again, exactly the same. You can select the transaction And in the bottom left-hand corner, we can click on to edit employee. And then all we're going to do is select whichever service is applicable and then click employee and then just change it accordingly. And then when we're happy, we just click done. And we just have to give ourselves a reason there as well for that transaction update. And then we just click done and done again. Perfect. So that's one of the quickest ways to amend those transactions. Now, if you do want to give an amendment reason, just like I created there called test, it is worth doing. I will show you very quickly now how to do that. So all we're going to do is just click setup and click configuration. And in the bottom left-hand corner, we're going to click general. And we're going to use the arrow key. And we're just going to keep scrolling down until we see this option here that says reasons. At the top here, we've got my transaction modification. So that's every time I modify that transaction, I change that payment type or anything like that there. So all we're going to do is just click new and we can just create that just there. And that's every time we amend that transaction, that will appear on our reporting as well. And then we're just going to click done. Perfect. So we've looked at new payment types. We've looked at setting up discounts. We've looked at our sort of general point of sale setup, adding on tips, required discount reason, require refund reason, low stock warning, and everything like that, as well as our rebookings. But what about then the overview of our point of sale screen? So most of us will know that when we go ahead and we check a client out, we right click, we left click, and we click on checkout, we get our point of sale screen here. But what does everything show us? Now, of course, this class for this morning is all things point of sale. There are some very important things we should be looking at when we are looking at our point of sale screen. So let's break it down. Let's start with the simple things. So right down the bottom right-hand corner here, we have our payment types. We've got card, we've got cash. Now, if you did have a brand new payment type set up and you did tick the box for card EFT card when you're creating that payment type, when you click onto it, it will appear just here. Okay. So that is just basically saying it's a credit and electronic funds transfer card. We've also got the cash payment type just here. We've also got our gift and loyalty payment type, and we've also got the other payment type. Now, the other payment type will be all of your payment types that essentially you didn't tick for credit, EFT card, or gift and loyalty card. So you'll notice here, I've got my Chris's card machine that I didn't tick as a credit or debit card. Bank transfer, I didn't tick as a credit or debit card. They will all appear just here. So essentially, under our setup configuration, under our payment types, we just find any particular one. If we didn't tick this box just here, they all appear under the other payment type at point of sale just here. We also looked at enabling quotes. We can see if we want to give a nice professional quote that can be printed out. We've got the quote icon just here. So I could click onto the quote and print that out and give that to the client. Down the bottom, we've also got a discount button. Now you will notice there is a discount column just here. So then what is the difference? So if we've got the discount button or the discount column, exactly what is the difference? Well, what I'm going to say is I'm going to have multiple services at the point of sale screen. So I'm just going to additionally add something in. So I'm going to add in a nice massage there as well. Now let's say the discount is only to be applied to one service. So you can see here we've got this nice trainee cut and finish. I do not want the discount to be taken off the entire bill. So all I'm going to do is just use my discount column just here. I'm going to click into it and I'm going to use one of my discount reasons that we set up earlier. I think I called one Mother's Day just there. So again, this is why we use our discount reasons. We can do exactly the same for the service underneath. So again, we can click onto the discount column, choose one of our discount reasons. Let's choose the Mother's Day £5 there. And then we can just add that in if we need to. So we're always using our discount reasons there so we can track it in our reporting. So let's just add that in there. Email birthday, let's just add that in there, nice and simple. But what about then if you want the discount to come off the entire bill? Okay, so you don't have to do them individually. We can just go ahead, let's clear the discount. And we're going to apply it across the entire bill. That is where our handy designated discount button will come in. So we're going to click onto that, add that on there, and it will split it right across there, nice and evenly, nice and fairly. We can also add a tip on if we wish to. So if we're going to add a tip onto the card machine, perhaps, we can click onto tip, choose who the tip is going to go to. You can also filter at the top here if you wish to. I'm just going to add that tip on just there. And then when we're happy, we can choose one of our payment types that we've just looked at. And we can run that through. But also, what have we got at the screen here? In the top left, we've got client profile and client history. Client profile, we should really be double checking everything to make sure we've got that client's email address, to make sure we've got the spelling down correctly. Because of course, if we don't have that phone number, we're not able to send that text message reminder. If we don't have that email address, we're not able to send out further email marketing or correspondence. So it's always worth just double checking that client profile and just quickly saying, you know, I notice we haven't got your address down, or I notice you're not opted in for marketing. With your permission, would you like to be? We can also see if they're part of any club. Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about clubs in just a few moments, but you can also see if they are part of any clubs. And we're just going to click done, and then we're just going to click save. Now, also in the top left, we've got our client history, something we should all be using, client history, okay? Now, first and foremost, one thing we should be doing here is just double checking previous service, previous retail, but also the client history. It's a great way to discuss any future products or any future services. Now, myself at the reception desk or at the front of house, if we're discussing any products, any take home, add it to the client's history, okay? Why do we do that? Because the next time we're speaking with that client, we can say, oh yes, I noticed last time we discussed take-home hair care and beard softener. Would you like to take that today? Or, you know, keep an eye on the history. When's the last time they purchased that product? Was it a month ago? Was it 2 months ago? Are they running low on those products? You know, something we should be really taking action on. And it's a great way to help upsell. You know, I can see here we discussed beard softener. Okay, Chris, you know, how are you getting on with the beard? Would you like to take that product home today? It's a great way to add that in there at the point of sale screen. Something we should all be doing, or at the very least, just simply updating our color notes or our visit notes or our, you know, our haircut notes or anything like that. Also along the top here, we can see this client has £64.90 in credit. And we know from today, £15 that I believe is from a refund. We added that £15 for the half head of highlights. We added that on there. Now that at the top there is a credit. We can see that just there. It's essentially, want of a better word, free money. So we know we've discussed that take-home package. We know we've discussed that beard softener because we were looking at the client's history. This client may not even know they've got money on their account. And as we said, it's essentially free money, almost like a gift card. So we should now be thinking, okay, now's maybe the time to discuss that take-home package again, because they've got £64.90. We can say to them, you know, did you know you've got a little bit of money on credit? You know, we've discussed those shampoos, we've discussed those conditioners. Why don't you treat yourself? You know, Mother's Day's coming up, Father's Day's coming up as well. Now, we also spoke about clubs, and we said when we were looking at the client profile, we noticed that this particular client was part of a club. Now, not to sidetrack too much, if you're not quite sure how to set up a club, maybe a student club, VIP club, OAP club, staff club, whatever it may be, just drop me a little message at the end. More than happy how to show you how to do that. But essentially, clubs build points. Points equal pounds. Okay, it's a great, brilliant way to build loyalty. So not only that, at the top, we can see this client is part of Chris's club. There's no expiry, and we can see he has some points, okay? And we can see if there are going to be any points expiring, okay? Sometimes people set the club not to expire, but the points to expire. So we can see he's got some points. Points equal pounds. So again, this particular client has points. Points equal pounds. Again, he's got 4 points, or roughly, yeah, £4 to £5. Again, let's be discussing a take-home package. We can see this client has points, or at least just make them aware of it. They may not even be aware, and also let them know they are helping to build loyalty and build your brand. In the bottom left-hand corner, we've also got the more actions icon, and that's things like open cash register. That will be recorded, in case you need to pop something in the till, or maybe somebody left something and you kept it in a till for safekeeping. Take petty cash and then return petty cash. So if you're ever using petty cash, you can do that there. Transfer money, and maybe you run out of money in the till, you pop to the bank and you need to transfer some money in. Transfer money out. Perhaps you haven't cashed up for a couple of weeks and you've got too much cash in your till and you just want to transfer money out. This is all recorded and all can be found at the end of day wizard there as well. View cash movements. You can see your cash movements. And also a very, very common question we get asked. How do I check the balance of my Shortcuts gift card? That is the balance inquiry just there. So you can scan the barcode if they've got one, or just type the barcode in if they're doing it over the phone. So that's where balance inquiry comes into play. And then, of course, we've also got trans in the bottom left, hashtag trans with all of the transactions for that day or that week or that session. So again, we can click onto that there. It will bring up all of the transactions. And of course, this is where we were just a few minutes ago, amending the transaction type, amending the payment type, amending the employee. We've also got along the top here, we've also got our transactions totals, a great way to see our takings for the day. Now, you will require certain security setup to do this, so it's usually only our owners or site managers that will have access to this. As we expand our takings at the top there, you can see we've got our bankable payment types. Now, remember, when we created our payment types under our setup, configuration of payment types, there was a tick box for banking. And that will just essentially show us here whether it's going to be bankable or non-bankable, such as an account payment or gift certificates. It essentially means we do not physically take that money to the bank, so we wouldn't take an account payment to the bank. We can see any redemptions, any prepayments, liabilities such as gift cards. We've also got our sales just here, and it splits it down into products and services. Tax collected and extra information. Extra information are things like your discounts, your refunds, and your voided transactions. Now, as a site manager or an owner, these often get overlooked, but at the end of the day, if we are doing the cashing up, we should really be keeping an eye on this. How many discounts we're giving away? How many product refunds? Okay, we've all got overheads. We all need to make money. Let's be keeping an eye on that extra information. How many refunds? How many discounts? How many service sales? How many retail sales? How many voided transactions? And if there were, why? Cash movements, as we said, if we take money out of the cash, and total cash received, a great way to keep on top of absolutely everything. We should be seeing how much cash was taken for the day, just to make sure nothing goes missing, so to speak. And then we've got our trading sessions, okay? We've got our cash, we've got our flow, everything like that. And then we can do our end of day. So as we draw to a close, there are a couple of reports we should all be looking at. So we've looked at refunds, we've looked at voided transactions, everything like that. We've looked at account payments. So something very, very simple we should do is just go to Tools and Reports. And then in the bottom left-hand corner, we have the transactions. So what we can do is click onto this here, scroll down, and we've got this option here that says refunds list. We've also got refunds list by employee if you feel it's the same employee given a refund, but that might just simply fall to your manager or your front of house staff or anything like that. If we go onto the refunds list, we can set ourselves a nice date range just here. And then we're just going to click view. And we can see this just here, the products or the services that were refunded, the action that was taken, and the refund reason. So as we saw earlier, we should always be given a reason why, just so we can see. It's a great way to see, do our staff need a little bit extra training on the products because we're constantly refunding products, or maybe do we have a bad batch of products that we just need to keep an eye on as well. And then we can see the refund amount there. And then we can just simply see an overview of them here too. Now, all of this will help keep on top of our cash flow and our profit, because we can see here one went back to stock. That means it can be reused, but we might have been returned or it might have been discarded. That could have cost our business money. So all of these little things that we often overlook, but we should be keeping an eye on, are we giving too many refunds away and at what cost? Now we've also got voided transactions again. Should all be keeping on this just to make sure those transactions are not being voided, because remember that wipes the history. So we want to make sure if someone has done that, we want to know why. So again, let's just set ourselves a nice date range and then just click view. So then we can see here the transaction number of the day, who the client was, who the employee was, and at what till, and how they originally paid. And just always keep an eye on that void reason there. You may remember when it come up, it asked you for that reason. If we are noticing anything like this, let's just keep an eye on it. Why are we voiding those transactions? Because it's all logged. And then we just click done. Now, as a handy tip, just very quickly, as I've got a couple of minutes left, something I used to do in the salon quite a lot. When I do my end of day cashing up, and if I was to notice, for example, there were, it didn't quite balance. Maybe I was up on cash, down on card. Now, remember, we could go back and amend the transaction, but something we can do, which is very, very simple to do, is just go to, under our transactions, just go to our daily transactions. Okay, so we click onto view. And what that will do is it will give us all of the transactions for a particular day. You can do multiple days, but you're not able to do them all at once. You're not able to give like a date range per se. So if I just do today, we can see I get all of my transactions. And it most importantly gives us the payment type. Now for this is quite handy. When we've got to the end of the day, when we've done our cashing up, we often have duplicate receipts for our PDQ, and it shows us the time and the amount. Now, if I ever found I was up or I was down, or I just quite simply couldn't reconcile my till, what I would do is double check my cash, but also I would get all of those sort of merchant copy PDQ receipts out as well. As we said, they have the checkout time on it, and they also have the amount. What I would do is quite simply cross-reference. So I would look for an amount of £70 because it tells me here it was ran through as card for £70. And I would cross it off on the list here, and I would cross off my PDQ machine. That just tells me, yes, I did have a £70 card transaction, and it was around 8 o'clock. And I would just run through and just make sure there were no clerical errors. It may be you have a card receipt for around 9:20, but it tells me here on the system it was ran through as cash. That tells me there was, of course, a clerical error there. Now, it may also be when you look at it, you've got let's just say you've got a card receipt. And for example, let's say you've got a card receipt for £7 and it was ran through at roughly 8 o'clock in the morning. We can see again another simple mistake. It should have been ran through as 70 rather than 7. A lot of times when we're manually inputting, we type in 7000000 to give us 70. I think I did one too many zeros there for 70, but sometimes we can make that slight error there and it can be ran through as 7. Now, for things like that, if you are finding you're getting those input errors, it should have been 70 rather than 7, please do let us know. We offer integrated card machines with our preferred supplier. That essentially just means you do not need to reconcile at the end of the day. The transaction amount will appear automatically on the card machine, like in your favorite department store, your favorite shop. Just as you go to pay, the payment appears on the card machine. We offer that now, and we're very proud to offer that because it will save you so much time when it comes to input errors and things like that. So if you are finding by simply looking at a report like this, there are those clerical errors or those input errors on the card machine, and you're thinking, I want to stop that happening and I don't want to cash up at the end of the day when it comes to card, let us know. We've got those integrated card machines. It will save you so much time. Lovely. So thank you ever so much for joining me this morning for all things point of sale. Now, I appreciate it was quite a lot to go through, but I tried to get as much in there to ensure your point of sale experience is as sort of spot on as possible. Now, if you do have any further questions, please feel free to drop those across to me now. Thank you ever so much. Perfect. Lovely. Thank you ever so much. As always, do stay tuned and give us a like, share and follow on our social media pages. Been a pleasure speaking to everyone. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. I will speak to you all again soon. Thank you ever so much. Bye-bye.